Now let us see the hierarchical inheritance. In simple terms, you can say that hybrid inheritance is a combination of single and multiple inheritance in hierarchical inheritance. One part class will be inherited by many subclasses. See the code here. Now let us see polymorphism. Polymorphism in Java is a concept by which we can perform a single action by different ways. Polymorphism is derived from two Greek words, poly and morphs. The word poly means many and morph means forms. So polymorphism means many forms. There are two types of polymorphism in Java: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism can be achieved using overloading methods. Runtime polymorphism can be achieved using overriding methods. Now let us see runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism or dynamic method dispatch is a process in which a call to an overridden method is resolved at runtime rather than the compile time. The child class has the same method as of base class. In such cases, child class overrides the parent class method without even touching the source code of the base class. Advantage of Java method overriding. Method overriding is used to provide a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by its superclass. Method overriding is used for runtime polymorphism. Rules for method overriding. Method must have same name as in the parent class. Method must have same parameter as in the parent class. Must be ISA relationship inheritance. See the figure and code. Now let us see access rate of interest is 9.7. Difference between overloading and overriding. First I tell overloading, then overriding. Whenever same method or constructor is existing multiple times within a class, either with a different number of parameters or with a different type of parameters or with a different order of parameters, is known as overloading. Whenever same method name is existing multiple time in the both base and derived class with the same number of parameter or same type of parameter or same order of parameter, is known as overriding. Arguments of method must be different at least. Arguments of method must be same including order. Method signature must be different. Method signature must be same. Private, static and final methods can be overloaded. Private, static and final methods cannot be override. Access modifiers point of view, no restriction. Access modifiers point of view, not reduced scope of access modifiers but increased. Also known as compile time polymorphism or static polymorphism or early binding. Also known as runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism or late binding. Overloading can be exhibited both at method and constructor level. Overriding can be exhibited only at method level. The scope of overloading is within the class. The scope of overriding is a base class and derived class. Overloading can be done at both static and non-static methods. So overriding can be done only at non-static method. For overloading methods, return type may or may not be same. For overriding method, return type should be same. See the figure here. Note, static methods cannot be overridden because a static method is bounded with a class, whereas instance method is bounded with the object. Super keyword. The super keyword in Java is a reference variable which is used to refer immediate parent class object whenever you create the instance of subclass. An instance of parent class is created implicitly, which is referred by super reference variable. Usage of Java super keyword. Super can be used to refer immediate parent class in instance variable. Super can be used to invoke immediate parent class method. Super can be used to invoke immediate parent class constructor. Super is used to refer immediate parent class instance variable. This scenario occurs when a derived class and base class has the same data members. Hence, we use super keyword to refer a member of immediate parent class. See the code here. The continuation of the code with output. Now let us see super can be used to invoke parent class method. The super keyword can also be used to invoke or call parent class method. It should be used in the case of method overriding. In other words, super keyword used when base class method name and derived class method name have same name. See the code here. Super is used to invoke parent class constructor. The super keyword can also be used to invoke or call the parent class constructor. Constructor are calling from bottom to top and executing from top to bottom to establish the connection between base class constructor and derived class constructors. JVM provides two implicit methods. They are: if super is not used explicitly, compiler will automatically add super as the first statement. Super and super. Super is used for calling super class default constructor from the context of the derived class constructor. See the code here. Now let us see super with three dots inside the common bracket. It is used for calling superclass parameterized constructor from the context of derived class constructor. See the code. The continuation of the code. Important rules. Rule for default constructor. Whenever the derived class constructor want to call default constructor of base class in the context of derived class constructors, we write super. It is optional to write because even every base class constructor contains a single form of default constructor. Rule for parameterized constructor. Whenever the derived class constructor wants to call parameterized constructor of base class in the context of derived class constructor, we must write super, which is mandatory to write because a base class may contain multiple forms of parameterized constructors. Now let us see abstract classes. An abstract class is a class that is declared abstract. It can have abstract and non-abstract methods. Method with body. Abstract classes cannot be instantiated, but they can be subclassed. That is, we cannot create an object for abstract classes. Abstraction is a process of hiding the implementation details and showing only functionality to the user. Another way, it shows only important things to the user and hides the internal details. For example, sending SMS, you just type the text and send the message. You don't know the internal processing about the message delivery. To use an abstract class, you have to inherit it from another class, provide implementations to the abstract methods in it. If you inherit an abstract class, you have to provide implementations to all the abstract methods in it. Abstract method. Method that is declared without any body within an abstract class is called abstract method. The method body will be defined by its subclass. Abstract method can never be final and static. Any class that extends an abstract class must implement all the abstract methods declared by the superclass. See the syntax and code. See the continuation of the code and code for abstract class with constructors. See the continuation of the code. When to use abstract methods and abstract class. Abstract methods are usually declared where two or more subclasses are expected to do a similar thing in different ways through different implementations. These subclasses extend the same abstract class and provide different implementations for the abstract methods. Abstract classes are used to define generic types of behaviors at the top of an object-oriented programming class hierarchy and use its subclasses to provide implementation details of the abstract class. Now let us see exception handling in Java. An exception or exceptional event is a problem that arises during the execution of a program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is disrupted and the program or application terminates abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore, these exceptions are to be handled. An exception can occur for many different reasons. Following are some scenarios where an exception occurs. A user has entered an invalid data. A file that needs to be opened cannot be found. A network connection has been lost in the middle of the communications, or the JVM has run out of memory. Some of these exceptions are caused by user error, others by programmer error, and others by physical resources that have failed in some manner. Now let us see difference between error and exception. Error indicates serious problems and abnormal conditions that most applications should not try to handle. Error defines problems that are not expected to be caught under normal circumstances by our program. For example, memory error, hardware error, JVM error, etc. Exceptions are conditions within the code. A developer can handle such conditions and take necessary corrective actions. For example, divide by zero exception, null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. Advantages of exception handling. Exception handling allows us to control the normal flow of the program by using exception handling in the program. It throws an exception whenever a calling method encounters an error, providing that the calling method takes care of that error. It also gives us the scope of organizing and differentiating between different error types using a separate block of codes. This is done with the help of try-catch blocks. See the exception hierarchy here. Now let us see Java exception handling keywords. Java provides specific keywords for exception handling purpose. Try, catch, finally, throw, throws. Try, catch. Try is the start of the block and catch is the end of try block to handle the exceptions. We can have multiple catch blocks with a try, and a try catch block can be nested also. Catch block requires a parameter that should be of type exception. A catch block must be associated with a try block. The corresponding catch block executes if an exception of a particular type occurs within the try block. See the code here. See the continuation of the code. Add multiple catch blocks. A try block can be followed by multiple catch blocks. If the try block throws an exception, the appropriate catch block, if one exists, will catch it. Catch arithmetic exception. E is a catch block that can catch arithmetic exception. Catch null pointer exception. E is a catch block that can catch null pointer exception. All these statements in the catch block will be executed and then the program continues. If the exception type of exception matches with the first catch block, it gets caught. If not, the exception is passed down to the next catch block. See the code here. Now let us see Java finally block. Java finally block is a block that is used to execute important code such as closing connection, stream, etc. Java finally block is always executed whenever exception is handled or not. Finally block is optional and can be used only with try catch block. Since exception halts the process of execution, we might have some resources open that will not get closed, so we can use finally block. Finally block gets executed always whether exception occurred or not. See the code with output. Now let us see Java throw keyword. The Java throw keyword is used to declare an exception. It gives an information to the programmer that there many occur as exception, so it is better for the programmer to provide the exception handling code so that a normal flow can be maintained. Exception handling is mainly used to handle the checked exceptions. If there occurs any unchecked exception such as null pointer exception, it is programmer's fault that he is not performing checkup before the code being used. Throws. When we are throwing any exception in a method and not handling it, then we need to use throw keyword in method signature to let caller program know the exception that might be thrown by the method. The caller method might handle these exceptions or propagate it to its caller method. Using throws keyword, we can provide multiple exceptions in the throws key class, and it can be used with main method also. Syntax of Java throw. See here. We know that if any exception occurs, an exception object is getting created, then Java runtime starts processing to handle them. Sometimes we might want to generate exception explicitly in our code. For example, in a user authentication program, we should throw exception to client if the password is null. Throw keyword is used to throw exception to the runtime to handle it. See the code here. Now let us see final class, final methods and final variables. Final methods. While method overriding is one of the Java's most powerful feature, there will be times when you will want to prevent it from occurring. To disallow a method from being overridden, specify final as a modifier at the start of its declaration. Methods declared as final cannot be overridden. The following fragment illustrates final. See here. Continuation of the code here, and let us know about final class. Sometimes you will want to prevent a class from being inherited. To do this, proceed the class declaration with final. Declaring a class as final implicitly declares all of its methods as final too. As you might expect, it is illegal to declare a class as both abstract and final, since an abstract class is incomplete by itself and relies upon its subclasses to provide complete implementations. Here is an example of a final class. Now let us see final variable. If you make any variable as final, you cannot change the value of the final variable. It will be constant. See the code example here.